We are going live. Guys, great to see you. And this time we're going to start a little bit different. I wanted to start with a little bit sounds and encourage everyone to mood whilst I'm also doing the sound check. Let me check. We can do. Yes. Okay, guys. Thank you everyone for joining in today's powerful session. I can hear the sound is working well because last time we had problems with sound, so it is very important to make sure that this session is going great. Let me just put the sound down. If at any moment sound is going, just put it in a chat, say sound is gone or whatever. But if you hear me well, thumbs up, or just drop it in the chat, all good, or give a reaction so I know that you guys are on it. First of all, those of you who are watching the record, this will going to be a powerful session, so a power hour, and we're going to touch this topic. This is very powerful because there's pressures in life for us as a man to provide for families and to live up to the culture's expectations. Well, everyone comes from different backgrounds and different cultures, and there may be different expectations, but sometimes there's expectations that we have set ourselves, and those are the ones that actually we are carrying, and it may be a heavy burden. So you know what, today my goal is to inspire you, is to encourage you, to acknowledge you, and to give you that support, because you know what, I believe when a man gets better, everyone wins. So let's go crack in, and I'm gonna have some actually some work that we're going to be able to do together as well. So first, it all starts with identity and purpose. If I look up there, that means I have another screen, so I'm just going according to what I have prepared. But the biggest ones is identity and purpose. So what that means, identity, what that means, purpose, is simply who we are, what we're about, and where we're heading. And if you have heard me saying this, there's nothing more sexier than actually knowing who you are, what you're about, and where you're heading to, and that attracts people. And let me give you an example. So, why do girls like the bad boys? Is a valid question. So, do you like bad apples? No. Do you like bad job? No. Do you like a bad car? Do you like anything bad? You don't like it. So, what's attracting them, you may ask? And so what's attracting is actually the confidence, because that person knows we're gonna go there, we're gonna cause the trouble, and they have a clear direction, they have confidence, and then they have direction, and people are drawn towards that confidence and towards the clarity. So if you can have something good, and you have a good direction and honorable cause, and something that adds value with the same confidence, like you become straighter from here, you become here. So any bad boy, we're going to be at the surface level, because no one likes to be cheated in relationships, no one likes to be beaten up, because that's not what we want, and that's not a strong man, that's weak man, because that's what I said. When a man gets better, everyone wins. So a good man or a strong man is someone who is taken care of, someone who knows where he is going, someone who has the confidence, someone who can provide and who can support, and someone who hasn't lost the joy. Because in that pursuit of happiness and identity, we may, if we don't figure it out ourselves, then we may accept what other people say, and then these are the expectations that the culture or the family puts on us, and then we try to meet their expectations, they desires, and then we burn out ourselves. So it's very important to understand who you are, what you're about, and where you're heading to. And that's why there is these men's groups. That's why girls have their own groups, because it's different for a girl and it's different for a man. Okay, so here I look up in the screen, so I have notes. So many men wrestle with this who I am, the question. So who I am and what is my purpose. Okay. And look, men went through that before, men are going through it now, and after us, they're going to go through. But the journey that we do now here together, we're going to enable them to actually also find out their identity. We're going to enable them to overcome the challenges and have the clarity and have that course. because um, there is a pressure to be successful, to provide for the family, especially if you're a father and if you have kids, and to live up to the cultural expectations. Okay, but when you know who you're, what you're about, you're not influenced by other people's opinions or judgments, but you are more driven by your goals, and then you align with other people who are heading in that same direction. So, and that's powerful because when I went through the breakup last time, I was thinking to myself, look, should I actually tell to people that I'm Christian if I'm going on a dating apps? Or should I put that online on my Instagram? And I decided, you know what? Yes, because this is what I am. These are my values, and I don't want waste my time and my energy. I rather align with someone who shares the same values, and then I scare away people that are not going that same direction. And that's the same question: should you share your values in a company as a business? Should you share your what you stand for? Well, if you're unsure, you're going to try to meet everyone's needs, and then guess what, they will determine what you're going to do and how you're going to work. And that happened in my business when I didn't know what I stand for, and I was trying to please all my clients, and people pleasing led to me burning out and me being broken without money. But when I actually understood this, look, this is who I am, this is what I do, this is what I provide, whether it is in dating, I was selling myself, or it is my services as a company, you first need to identify what do you bring, what you're about, and what you can give to other people. Okay, and then all of a sudden there's clarity, and then people can skip past you, or they can cling to you and come closer. And then that is actually what has helped me in my business and in my relationships now. Just got married recently, and sorry, and my business is actually I think it's the second best year since we started in 2017. So I think we are doing quite good, despite all the covids and brexits and all whatever things was happening, because I identify who I am, and then I know who I'm not, and therefore I identify who is not my client and who I don't need to spend time with, because they're going to drain you. They're going to drain you, and those people, whether that's friends, whether that's clients, whether these are those relationships. And that's why your identity and your purpose is very important to help anyone, because the best way to help others, the best way to help a homeless person is not to become one, not to become homeless. Okay, so how can you help someone who is confused in life and someone who don't have clear direction? Is not to get confused yourself, but set the direction, and then all of a sudden you can encourage them, help them, and support and guide. And like me doing these men's groups. Okay, so this can leave men feeling lost if they don't have clarity on their mission. Exactly. If you don't have clarity of where you're going, then you're lost, you're drifting. There is a lot of influences that speaking in our lives, in our men's lives. That can be your mom, that can be your grandma, that can be someone else, because what they were gonna say what works for them, but they don't need to achieve what you need to achieve. They don't have the goals that you have. So you need to clearly identify what you're about and where you're heading to, and then don't listen to those who are not going the same direction. And I have had people who try to talk me out of the things that I am called to do, but this is my calling, and then I need to identify who is actually doing what I want to do. And if, for example, you're going to go to your grandparents and talk about attending a gym and getting in shape, maybe they're going to talk you out of it. But do that, do you really need to listen to that? And I'm not promoting here gym, but I'm saying, look, what works for 80, 90-year old person may not be that what you need to follow, and what you need to do, it doesn't mean that they will understand you, and that's fine. So you need to get comfortable with the situation that people don't understand you, but you need to understand yourself. So well done on showing up here, and well done on actually making the first steps and like looking into yourself. It's like finding the question, like, you are a man, and your mission is to become the best man ever. And when you become better, everyone wins. Your family wins, your kids, your relationships, your colleagues, Everyone wins, even your country and your city, because all of a sudden you are not a burden, but you are actually a contributor who helps. Because the only way you can do that is by not becoming dependent on them, but becoming independent. And that means, first of all, you need to take care of yourself to be able to take care of other people. So let me just have a water because I have a little bit cough. Sorry, I've been on a honeymoon and just been swimming too much. So, okay. So, without a strong sense of purpose, it is easy to fall into the autopilot. Okay. Sound check, sound check. Hey, Arthur. And it's good sound. Yeah. So, without the strong sense of purpose, it is easy to fall into autopilot. So, what comes in your mind when I say falling into an autopilot? Okay. So, for instance, it can be working harder but feeling unfulfilled. And that means you just keep doing the same thing, but there's no satisfaction in life. You just keep repeating the same things, what you've been doing, because it just feels natural and you do them without thinking. And that means that you keep yourself in the same place, but there's no fulfillment because, first of all, you're not growing. Second of all, you don't see any changes, and therefore, well, the definition of happiness is no. Well, let's say definition of depression. So let me show you. So if you're going in this direction, and you're, for example, here, and you want to go there, so that's the direction where you want to go. And then there's struggles, there's difficulties, there's obstacles, but you end up the other side where you started rather than where you want to go. That means that you cannot see the future. And all of a sudden, all the activity that you do feels meaningless. And that is the depression. So depression is knowing where you want to go, but you struggling and doing all the activity and difficulties, but then finding yourself that you don't get closer to it, but maybe even opposite, you go the other direction. Okay. And then people get depressed. And that's legit. But then what's the opposite to that is knowing that I'm here, knowing where I want to go. That's the purpose, that's the mission. So first of all, we need to know where we want to go. Then what we do, we make the steps, and maybe there's struggle, maybe there's rain, maybe there's steps, maybe there's summer, maybe there's winter, maybe there's heartbreaks, but we are closer to our goals, closer to our destination. Maybe there's a holiday trip. And now we were here, but now we moved closer, but we are not yet at the destination. We're not yet at the holiday that we wanted, but we feel excited because we know it is so close. And that gives us power and energy and passion to continue to do whatever we are doing. So whether it's work, whether it's housework, whether it's running our business, or maybe saving the money, or maybe trying to get fit, whatever. Because if that's the fitness goal, for example. So moving closer to our goals is what actually gives us the happiness. That means that we need to grow. And if we are on the autopilot, there is no growth because we are just coasting. And guess what? Luckily, if the autopilot at least gets us to the right direction, but if it is taking us away, or sorry for that, or it's actually robbing our time, and time is passing, and we 20 years later realize that we are actually in the same place where we've been. Because remember, money we can earn, but time we cannot get back. Okay. So what is the next? What is the next area? So the first one is identity and purpose. And let me share this. So the next one is relationships and emotional connection, and that's a big one, because the biggest breakthroughs that people have is usually connected in to relationship with other people. Because how can you actually celebrate life if you're alone? Or for instance, how can you enjoy special moments if you're alone? For example, a birthday. So all of a sudden, if you look at this perspective, it's not just about that specific date, but it is who you share with. So it's your friends, it's your family. Okay, so those shared moments, those collective emotional connections that you have, that you can then resonate. And maybe we went through a difficult season together. And maybe we climbed a mountain and it was raining and we were exhausted and we thought that we were going to freeze. And then we came down and we went through big experience. And guess what? Now we have this dramatic experience that we overcame. And yes, it wasn't pleasant, but it is something that's uniting us. And these are these moments, these are actually these memories that we were going to share. And I was, when I was actually getting married, I was just speaking to my dad. And what my dad said, he said, you see, when you divorce and when you break up and you start a new relationship, what happens is everything that you had in the past, all these moments, all these memories, everything, now in this new relationship you cannot share them anymore. So everything that you lived through, you cannot relive it, you cannot share it, you cannot because that new person, you have to start to build those emotional connections from zero again. So that means if you've been in a 10-year long relationship, then when you start from zero, then you literally start from zero also emotionally, because you need to build those moments together, and that will going to take ages and years. So look, we get to know each other through those experiences, and usually the bad experiences what brings us closer rather than brings us apart. So if, for example, let's look at a computer game. So if you just play on easy, level one, level one, level one, level one, like after a while you start asking yourself, well, is that it? Is there is nothing more than that to life than just easy, than just the first level? And it becomes boring, it becomes boring, and there is no fulfillment, because that's maybe the first job that you started, it was easy, and you're still doing the first job because it is easy, and that's just the first level. But there comes a time in life when you're like, you know what, I'm ready for more, and I know that there is the next level. But when you go to the next level, there's the boss that you need to win. Okay, and the boss is the obstacles, the challenges, and then people get to those obstacles and challenges and they give up and they never step into the next level. But you see, that is those challenges that actually creates those emotional connections as a couples, as people, as a friends, as a company, as a team, that then you're going to look back and say, look, we didn't give up then, we overcame this, you will overcome this. But if we always, whenever we get too difficult, we quit, then we're going to always start from this, from the first level. And think about that, you were in relationships and you got to the level 20, and after the level 20 you need to start back from the level 1. And I mean, you may think, it's great to start a new game, but when you start a new game, is it really that interesting to play the first level again? And it will take a lot of effort and energy to start again. So people, when they go through breakups, guess what happens is usually that's where they start to do the internal work. Usually when they go through a relationship breakups, is that's where they actually start to look for answers, because there is nothing more devastating to a man than going through a breakup. And I know I took that from my own experience, because I was in a previous relationship, I was to a point where I was thinking that I was gonna propose, but guess what happened? She dumped me. And it was like, what? Unexpected. At that moment, I had no desire to do any work. I had no desire to do anything. I just wanted to quit, give up, drink, take drugs, sleep around, forget anything. But I made a decision that I was going to focus on what's good and what's honorable. And therefore, I came out on the other side. And like I said before, look, that relationship that I have, or that level in the business that I have, it's not because it was just playing easy the first level. Because I went through the difficult level and I decided, you know what, now on this difficult level, I will not gonna quit. Even if other people quit, I will not gonna quit. And like the number one thing I can say, if there is any advice that I can speak into your life and encourage, even if it's difficult, do not quit. Because if you have left 10% from your 100%, do your 10%, because those 10% is your 100%. And you will see that because you didn't quit, because you didn't run away straight away, you then will be able to do again 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, and 100 and 110%. And that is where I'm at the moment now. So I'm speaking from my own experience. And so here, what happens? So men are often taught to be strong and not to show vulnerability. Yeah, and that's quite opposite. We understand that if you were going to go out in nature, like you're going to be around other predators, then if you're going to show your vulnerabilities, then you're going to be attacked. And that's understandable why men want to hide their vulnerability. And I'm not saying that you need to go and complain and tell everyone what problems you have in life, but you have to find a safe place to be able to open up and to speak. Because if there's any area in our lives that we cannot talk about, then that means there's something unhealthy. And if there is something unhealthy, we'll be triggered, we'll be reacting, we'll be responding. And guess what happens is people will notice that. People will notice that, and they are going to quite the opposite. Instead of drawn to us, they're going to be propelled. They're going to be pushed away. And instead of coming closer and opportunities given to us, they're going to take away the opportunities. Because who you would want to connect yourself with? Someone who is authentic, someone who you can see through and you can trust, or someone who always have the mask and says, "No, everything is good." Yeah, and maybe at work you don't go and tell all the clients that your life is struggle, that you're struggling in some areas in your life, but you need to have that safe place, and maybe that's your family, maybe that's your friend, maybe that's your pastor, maybe that's this men's group, maybe that's some other men's groups, but you need to have to find a safe place, because when we can shine a light on it, then it loses the power, and when it loses the power, then we can start to work on it, and then we can change, and that's the whole story. It's the transformational journey. Okay, so this can create a struggle if so this can create struggles in forming deep and open connections if we are not transparent. Okay, and it can cause conflicts between partners and friends and even family, because they know that something is happening, but we are just not there. They they can feel it that something is wrong, but we are just not sharing with them. And what they didn't feel like is, you know, he don't want to share with me. He just is trying to deal with him everything with himself, and he's not trusting me, or he's not being like, how to say, I'm trying to find the right words. He's not being honest, and he's not connecting, because the connections usually happens on the emotional level rather than just informational level. And when you actually share that story and that journey that happened to you, is where you can create a deep and emotional connections. Okay, and usually there's, from men and gals, who do you think initiate divorces the most? You'll be surprised. All the divorces mainly are initiated from the woman's side. Why? Can you guess why? Okay, I'll tell you from the men's side. So the statistics is 30% of divorces are initiated by men, and that's 30%. Although everyone says about guys cheating, and yes, that's true, because of the lack of the sexual need. Okay, sexual needs are not met. But the gals initiate the divorces 70% of the time in the marriage, because of the lack of emotional needs. So the emotional needs are not met, the emotional connection is not there. And when a guy is closed up and he's not opening up, guess what happens is they it creates a space of disconnection. So now there is mistrust, and then the question is, why are we not opening up? Because we have fear, and fear of judgment, fear of how people will perceive us, fear of failure, whatever is holding us. But most of the time it's fears or limiting beliefs. For example, men do not talk, or you cannot share it because no one will gonna take care of you, or no one will support you. And look, if that's really what you believe in, I can share it. I was there myself. I come from a broken family. I grew up without dad, and only my mom was taking care of me. She was always busy at work, so I was basically left by myself. So I grew up with this mind that, with the mindset of like lack, that no one will be there for me, no one will support me. I need to do everything by myself. So I learned that when I was younger. Now, when I moved to UK and I became older, wiser, I still I still was triggered by that. I wouldn't allow people to take care of me, and when they do take care of me, I will become angry. But then the question is why? Because they were actually trying to help me, but now why does that trigger me? Because see, if I get used to people helping me, then guess what happens? If they will stop doing it, I'm gonna end up again where I was, and therefore I'm gonna feel the pain. And so for me, it's safer is not to let people close to me, because then I don't have to deal with the disappointment, and then all of a sudden I just live in the disappointment. So you see, whatever I would try to escape is actually what was keeping me as the prison, and I was keeping myself. So usually it's fear or limiting beliefs. Okay. So communication, intimacy, and expressing emotions are areas where many men feel challenged. Yeah. So let me share this as well. I just have the notes there, and maybe you feel challenged by that as well when even we're talking about this. Okay. So many men feel challenged by talking about emotions and saying, "Look, what's really going on?" Because we are so used to putting on the mask, like everything is okay. And there is places where we need to say it's fine, and we just need to man up, and we just need to get cracking, and that's work. Okay. And then there's other places like life and death situations. We don't have to get all emotional, but we just have to sort it out, or we just need to run away, or we just need to run in the fire and save someone. Or maybe now we're going to share what happened in my just honeymoon. We were jumping from the boat, so we hired the boat, and my wife, she was so she wasn't that confident. So instead of jumping from the boat, she would just roll in the water from the boat. And guess what happens? Because we anchored the boat, and then the current was coming towards the back of it. So she is rolling in the water. As she's coming up, she hit her head against the engine, and then the current is pulling her under the boat, and straight away I jumped in the boat, catch her and pull her out. Okay, because I was like, look, if now she's gonna start panic, and instead of swimming under the boat and like on the sides, she's gonna get pulled under the water. Now she's gonna swallow that water, and then it's gonna be disaster. So instead of like me doing whatever, I'm scared, whatever's the situation, whether I'm tired or not tired, you just jump and execute, and you just do it. And because like that's what it is. And there's moments in life when we just have to execute, but then there's moments like here where we are relaxed, we're safe, we create this safe environment like this men's group, where we can actually discuss and say, look, brother, what's going on in your life? Like, why are you acting this way? Yeah. And so there is a place for both, and not to mix those. There is two scenarios where men just has to man up and just get cracking. That's true. But the second is the guys need to open up and actually share what's going on, because that's where the true intimacy happens. Because if you don't do that, we don't get to the next level of intimacy. Because if you're dating a girl and I'll say, why don't you get married? You say, well, I don't know her that well. Well, okay, take down the pants. So you take down the pants to her, you put down the pants, and now you're too naked. So what do you don't see? You see the other person. Well, I don't really know her. I just see her naked. Okay, so then there is something more to than just body. Okay, so that means just by being naked or sleeping together, you cannot know the other person. But how can you get to know the other person is by actually spending time together, seeing how they respond to situations, and then from there you can kind of understand what triggers them, what doesn't trigger them, and then you can understand what to expect from them. But if without taking long periods of time, you can be there. Look, this is who I am. This is what I'm about. This is my problem areas. This is what I'm working on, then actually it gives more trust in you, rather than if someone just sees those uh, blind spots and you don't talk about them. Because see, the thing is, if you cannot find your blind spots, you cannot improve them. And they may even not have enough courage to tell you that, and you always will be triggered, and you always will be kind of left behind, because people are going to be going around circles you instead of coming closer, because there may be something that you try to avoid, and you even don't know what you're trying to avoid because it's subconscious. Because we are run like 80% of our lives is, or even more, is run by our subconscious mind, which is the past experiences and the feelings that we experienced at that time, and those that we want to avoid, like in my case, being left alone and being there to do everything myself. Okay. And then I close up, build the walls, and then I cannot establish new relationships, and now I'm suffering in relationships, or I cannot start new relationships. I was like, what's going on? Maybe I just need to look in here, just be vulnerable, be open, and maybe joining groups like this where we challenge. Because, like, you know, I just wanted to highlight this. I just shared the screen again. Did you know the guys are actually growing through a challenge? And here we can see that this is the word challenge. Okay. Communication and intimacy and expressing emotions are areas where men feel challenged. And I'm inviting you to go through this challenge, because through challenges you grow. Because challenge is not an obstacle, is not a block. Challenge is something that you need to overcome. And when you overcome, then you go to the next level. And so I'm here not coming from a place of having all the answers or being perfect, but having that challenge, or calling you to step up a little bit, and challenging you guys to maybe look into the next level in intimacy and communication and expressing your emotions. And through that, you're going to create a deeper connections. Look, I can give you an example. Let me stop saying. I can give you an example. I have one friend, very successful. He starts a business, then he starts drinking, and then everything goes bad, and then again he recovers, starts a different business, and straight away he buys two cars. He is like going restaurants, renting a flats, everything. And then he starts drinking, everything goes. And then again he starts from zero, different idea. Okay, he needs, I don't know, 200 people in factories, and he needs 200 flats in Corby or something. And like, I don't know, understand how, from a person who is drunk and he needs to go to hospital to be on this medicine and to be basically recovered, to then again start a new business. And he literally can go to zero to 100%, zero, 100%, zero, 100%. And then there's many people who always stay maybe at 2 or 3 or 5%. They never reach more than that in life, but they never hit the zero. But this guy is literally up and down, up and down. So, but I was thinking, what is actually that gives him the opportunities to meet those people? Because he goes out there and he meets people because he's open and he's transparent, and he's just saying to people whatever he's doing. And I remember he was even telling a story, not telling a story, it was actually a real life situation where he actually had his own table in Samsung store, where people from Samsung store would give him the phones, because he would then bring it to wholesaler to fix the screens, because they couldn't cope with the amount of broken screens. Okay, it's like, how can a drunk person, like homeless person, can get us a place in Samsung store? How can then he can go back on the streets and then again start a new business with properties, and then buy two cars just so he has one white and one black? Like, it's like, how it is possible? It's just mind blowing, because he creates trust in people, and when he's sober and not drinking, then he's really the guy that he has the heart, and people see him through it, and they know whether we can trust him or no. But if someone is hiding something, people feel it. Like, you feel you feel me, and you understand. Look, is this guy really want something from me? Is this guy trying to sell something here? Is this guy like, is he pretending? Okay, so you feel me. So there is no point for me to pretend. Yeah, and I'm doing this men's group, and there is a coaching session that we run, and there is a charge to it. But I'm not here to force you in it, because my commitment is to do these live sessions so everyone can benefit. Okay, and then if you decide that you want to go to the next level, great, amazing. But look, I'd rather be straightforward up front rather than trying to hide something and then say, "Oh, look, actually, this is what I wanted to do." Because look, there's nothing more uniting than actually the transparency. But that's a skill to be mastered, because most of the times when we are growing up, we may be told of like behave or shut up or be quiet, and then we just learn be quiet, shut up. Okay, and then what happens? We close ourselves and we cannot express. And I remember when I came to UK, my English is not my first language, so when I came here, I couldn't express myself because I just didn't know English language. And that's the first time I got panic attack. I got panic attack because I wanted to connect with people. I couldn't. I wanted to approach the girls, but I was trying to speak to them, and then they would say something and blah blah blah. I was like, sorry, blah blah blah, and I'm sorry, and blah blah blah. I just start laughing. I just felt embarrassed. I just go away, and I never wanted to experience that embarrassment again. So therefore, I never approached the girls anymore. And now I was alone. I didn't have friends, and I couldn't connect with people because even if they say joke, I need to go in translator and try to translate what they're trying to say to me. So of course I couldn't connect. So and then I just said, let me just work. And then that's what I was saying about drifting. That's what I'm saying, being an autopilot, just working, 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 and that is also an escape. So it can be an escape, drinking, it can be drugs, it can be just sleeping around without any deep, meaningful communication. Because sleeping around, like I said, two naked people doesn't mean that they know each other. It doesn't mean anything. Okay, but the intimacy is what actually is created in the communication when we are open. Okay, so loneliness, lack of emotional support is the hidden struggle for a lot of men. Okay, and this is just what I was saying. So where did the loneliness came from not being able to connect with other people. And I'm not only saying intimately with girls, but just having this relationship with other men. Because what is the point even here from these men's groups if all that we have is like, my life is good, is getting better, and then it's getting even better, and then it's even getting even better. Then it's like, what's the point of being here in this men's group? It's like, apparently you have landed here because you're looking for something. And when you can be honest and transparent and say, look, man, this is not working in my life, I just don't understand. When you can say that, then you can find the answers. Yeah, because I'm gonna say like this resistance, these walls, how much that has cost you. And well, there is information that I can give you, there is support that people can give you, the same like I was resisting. So, how much this resistance is keeping you away from learning? How much this resistance is keeping you from gaining that new insight or giving this new opportunities or new relationship? How much this resistance has cost you, and how does this resistance make you feel? And maybe it is time to stop resisting. And I know it's hard. I know it's uncomfortable, but that is the challenge. And that's why I'm doing actually this, because like I said, I want to challenge you guys, because through that you can grow. So on the third area, that's okay. So there was two areas. So first, purpose, okay, and then understanding who you are, what you're about. The second is relationships and communication. Sorry, the second. And the third one, what is the third area that most of the guys are struggling? What is the third area? Is stress, pressure, and well-being. Because remember, this was about the pressures in life that we have, and sometimes those pressures in life is not necessarily caused by others, but by ourselves and our own maybe dreams and our expectations that we don't meet, and then therefore we judge ourselves, and therefore we beat ourselves down. And from that place, even if a new opportunity comes in, we're going to reject the opportunity because we have now the belief that we cannot do it. Okay, and that's that self-confidence. Because now, like, how can you build that self-confidence? You can build self-confidence by doing what you say, even if it costs you. And the more you do what you say, guess what happens? The more confidence you have in yourself, because if I said I'm going to do that, I'm going to do that. And if that means I'm going to, I don't know, don't set yourself too big goals, because then you're going to be constantly failing, but start small. Okay, and maybe that pressure in life is because your goals is too big. And I'm not saying don't dream big, I'm saying dream big, but then start with smaller goals. Maybe your goal is to go to Mars, like Elon Musk goal is to go to Mars, but first he needs to build a rocket. Because if he only thinks about the Mars, he knows that he cannot achieve it, and then he gets depressed. But if he now thinks, okay, what are the smaller steps I can do? My goal is to go there, but then what I can do and what's in my control. And now he says, okay, well, first of all, I need to get rocket that goes to space. So he starts with smaller, and then next thing is like, okay, how can I make a bigger rocket, bigger, faster? Okay, how can I become more efficient, and how can I go further distances? How can I bring some assistance? Maybe I need to create robots. Then he creates his robots. Then because there were going to be no fuel, but they were going to need equipment, and why not to do electric cars? And now they were going to have electric cars, they will have Tesla robots, and they need solar panels, and they're going to do the solar panels, and the solar panels were going to support everything. And then guess what? Why Elon needs the boring company? Because on Mars there's no atmosphere, so people are going to be living underground. So all of a sudden Elon has a boring company that we're going to have the technology to bore underground. Then he's developing the robots, because before people go there you can send robots, and robots then can charge themselves from solar batteries, and they will need transportation, which is the electric cars, and then you need rockets to deliver it. Now all of a sudden these are the things, but he didn't start it with the Mars. He started, okay, this is where I want to go, what I need to do, and then start with one thing, and then attack one next and next, and now all of a sudden look at it, how close he is. The question is how long time it will going to take. But you see, now he has the progress and movement, and no longer that heavy pressure of like, I need to get to the Mars. He needs to get to the Mars, but you need to execute, and you need to start somewhere. And that is what actually takes away the stress. Okay, so let me tell you another thing. So if we are thinking about if we are thinking about the result, and what has caused the biggest stress in my life is thinking about the result and what I want other people to do, and then they are not doing it, then it has caused me a lot of stress. And in relationship wise, my expectations from other people, and work wise, my expectations from other people. And when I realize it's not in my control, but what's in my control is the input. And then, well, how I teach them, how I coach them, what information I give them, that's in my control. Okay. But then what I will do with the information, that's not in my control. And if I let go of that, then all of a sudden I also have to accept that there may be a choice that they do not pick me. There may be a choice that person is not a good person. I need to find someone else. Although it's uncomfortable, I need to start from level one again. But at least maybe next time I'm going to do better choices, and I have learned. But the worst thing is to stick with level one person for, I don't know, 10 years, and after 10 years realize, oh man, that's not it, and then go back. Like that's the worst thing. So is actually the best thing is to embrace it and say, look, man, I'm committed to it, let me go for it. And I don't know what will going to be the outcome. I don't know how the people were going to do and what they're going to do. But if they're going to leave, if they're going to quit, and if it don't not going to work out, it's fine with me. I'm going to start all over again. And and there was this story that grandpa was saying to his son. So basically, a granddad to the dad, and he's saying life is like surfing. And he says, you see, me and my grandma, we are on this wave for 40 years. But sooner or later, the waves crash. And when the waves crash, you need to paddle out, because the sooner you wait, the more waves you miss. And that's the same. That's the same in relationships at business, and that's the same in our intimate relationships. You need to paddle out, because some waves last longer, some shorter. Life is unpredictable, but we don't have to control it. We have to say, look, this is what I'm about, this is where I'm heading, and this is what I'm going to do. And whatever going to be the outcome, you're going to be able to manage it. Trust me, man, because other people been there. And that's where bravery is needed. That's where confidence is needed. That's where faith is needed. And what's keeping us down is actually lack of faith. What's keeping us down is that fear, because stepping up and going to that new level, guess what, it's unknown, no one has been there. But you don't want to be playing the game on the first level. You don't want, because that's where you don't feel that fulfillment. Okay, so I wanted to share this one, the wheel of life. And I'm going to do a little bit of coughing. Okay, so here's a small exercise. So just write down. This is an exercise for you guys. Just write down um, from one. So from zero, that would be like completely nothing, and 10 would be the maximum. Like that's it. There is maximum, no more. So just write from 1 to 10 where you are in each areas of the life. So at work, so just be honest, like don't think too much, just be honest and just say to yourself, write it down, because that's how you can measure the progress. So first of all, identifying. So work wise, where you are from 1 to 10. Okay, maybe it's 2, maybe it's 4. And remember that 1 or 2 or 3 or 10, it's only for you. It's not to be measured by someone else. It's not to be measured by your neighbor or some influencer, but it is to measure by yourself. So if you think 10 would be this, where you are now. Maybe for someone, work would be just work in a stable job that you don't have to ever worry about your future, and they would be at 10 because they do the job they like and they have the stability. Okay, and that's 10. For someone else, it would be starting my own business, but then they are in a stable work, and then they say maybe it's, I don't know, 3 or 4 because it gives the money but doesn't give the fulfillment. So the same job for one can be 10, for someone it can be 4. So work wise, where you are. And development, so when I talk about development, so it's personal development, like your growth, your development, your personal development, like how far you are, like do you feel like growing? And I'm not necessarily just saying at work, maybe emotionally, do you are more self-aware, maybe it's financially growing, and maybe it's physically, maybe I don't know, you build a biceps a little bit bigger last year, I don't know, what did you do? Maybe you build the belly, and then maybe the score goes down. So development is going down, maybe finance is going out the window. I mean, it can go up and down. And then health wise, it would be physical health, and then look, maybe you have some pain, maybe you don't have pain, maybe you want better physical shape, maybe you want more energy. So where you are from 0 to 10, just quick answers, there's no right or wrong, because like the exercise this, you just need to identify where you are, because then when you identify, then you can say, oh man, this actually is the area that I need to work on. But if you cannot identify it, you cannot start to work on it. Okay, money wise, so money wise from 1 to 10, for some people can say, look, no money, no headaches, no problems, and they were going to be 10 with 100 pounds. And someone will say, look, I need £1 million, and I don't know, I feel a 2 because I don't have million. So whatever is yours, it is entirely up to you. You know, and money wise, it may be just the freedom, like that you can buy whatever you want. Sorry for that. And then home. When I say home, I'm not meaning that do you own a home or how nice is your home. I'm talking about how do you feel at home. So when you come at home, maybe it's a big arguments and fights. Maybe when you come home, you feel at peace. Maybe that's the go-to place. Okay, and you're just thinking that you want to be at home because that's your 10. And maybe you don't want to come home because you rather would be everywhere else rather than being at home. And look, my brother, he said that he had this one builder, and he said that he prefers to work on Saturdays and Sundays. And my brother said, why? Because he said, then usually my wife is at home. So his home probably would be too. Yeah. So he rather work Saturdays and Sundays and be off during the weekdays because wife is at work. But look, that's the reality, and we just have to address it. So just being honest. And look, if you're not honest here with yourself, then I was just gonna ask yourself your question, like, what other areas you are not honest? Because if you cannot be honest with yourself, then what are the other areas where you're not honest with yourself? And then that is the one area that you need to look into, and that's the development. Okay, friends. So how about friendships? Maybe you're too busy, maybe too frustrated. What's the situation with friendships? So from 0 to 10. And then romance. Well, romance maybe is non-existent. It's 0. maybe it's two, maybe it's four, maybe it's six. Okay. So where you stand with romance? Maybe you're in relationships a long time, being in relationships maybe 10 years, but the romance is not that, because there is always challenges. There's this law of familiarity. The longer you have something, the more you get used to it, and then you just lose the joy. And that's the romance. So we need to kickstart the romance, and that can be also the romance in anything else, in any other area. But I would say this is the intimate area with your partner. Okay, and then life purpose, where you are with your life purpose. Maybe you're confused. Maybe you don't know where you stand. But maybe you know exactly where you are and where you want to go, and you're actually heading towards it. And maybe you're not at 10, maybe you're not yet there, but you're maybe at 6, maybe at 8, maybe at 9, because you're so close and you're so driven, and because you know that you're making progress every single day. Because remember, when that life purpose is on fire, then you then bring in the fire in all the other areas in your life as well. And then we come back to work. So, yeah, this is very important for self reflection and just being honest and transparent with yourself. Okay, so let's continue because we don't have much time left. But then with stress, pressure, and well-being. So balancing work, finances, responsibilities, health, and family expectations can lead to overwhelming stress. And so, look, how do we combat the stress? So by balancing, and that's why I wanted to show you this wheel, because maybe there is one area that is like you're crushing it, but then there's another area that's really suffering. So for example, I had a friend, and his colleague said, "Oh, I really wanted to be like the director, like the boss." And he said, "Why do you say that?" He said, "Well, because he has this nice car, nice apartment in central London, and he's driving the sports car." He said, "Okay, so but let's look at it. How is the boss's health? Well, he's overweight and he's breathing heavily, so his health is not doing good. Okay, so his health is not good. Okay, well, his finances is good. Okay, so his finances may be at 10, but his health is maybe at 2. Okay, now how it is his friendship? Like, does he has many friends or no? No, people don't like him. Okay, so friendship maybe is a 2. Okay, so at home. So at home, he's alone. Okay, so what would you say? You come at home, but you're alone. So what would you say? Maybe 2, 3, or 4. Okay, maybe nice home, relaxing, but you're still alone. You're lonely. Okay, so maybe 4. So romance is non-existent. Okay, life purpose. Well, maybe he wants to work in a business, and he's working. He's feeling that he's passion. So maybe it's 10, and his work is maybe at 10. Okay, and then his money is maybe at 10, but then you see his health and his friendships in the home and romance is at almost like 2 or 0. And then my question is do you actually want to be in his shoes now? All of a sudden things change. But when we only look at one of them areas, then of course you may say, "Oh, I actually would like to have that." But the beauty is actually to have the balance, and so to balance the finances, health, and family expectations, like that is how we can actually get rid of the stress. Because then we are, instead of a place of proving and striving, we're instead in place of fullness and completeness, and that is a place where we're full of peace, full of love, and from that place we have more to give. Because otherwise we just need to take, 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 take. Because like if we don't fill up our own cup, and people say, "Oh, you just need to be like giving to other people, taking care of other people," that's true. But if you're giving from an emptiness, then all that you do, you give to get, and you give resentment, anger, frustration, manipulation, and that's not a good place. Okay, so first you need to think about yourself and how you can fill up your own cup so you would be able to give to other people. Okay, many men struggle physically, so, and that's fitness. Like, like I said, this man barely can walk, and he's breathing heavily, and his sleep is probably difficult as well, because if you're overweight, you're sweating a lot, and it's tough. And then mental health, like anxiety, depression, and burnouts, and these are actually created by our beliefs and actually not having a clear definition of where we want to go. Because what I said, the depression is like you doing all these activities, you do the life, you wake up in the morning and you do whatever you do, but yet you're not going where you want to go. Because first of all, you don't know where you want to go, and second of all, even if you know, you're not taking any steps, because you always stay in the level one and you never step up to the level two. And therefore everything that you do feels like stagnating or even pulling you back, because it just drains you. You get older, you have less money maybe, but yet you're in the same place. Okay, and that leads to burnout, because burnout is literally doing the same thing, more until that's it, and the body says stop. And that's where I've been. And I got the panic attack, and then I realized, look, I need to let go. And then the story that I said to myself was, look, if I'm in the sea and I have a gold in my hands and I'm drowning, will I let go of the gold and swim, or I keep to the gold and drown? And whatever is that level one that you've been keeping trying to push it, and it's not happening, maybe it's time to step up and go to level two. And maybe level two is, maybe you've been working in one place. I used to work in hospitality, and people in hospitality usually say, oh, I never want to be like that manager, because there's too much responsibilities and the pay doesn't it's not worth it. Okay, and maybe the level one is like you are that waiter in one place for, I don't know, 14 years, because I was 14 years in hospitality. Way too long. Level one, way too long. Okay, and so it was fear of the unknown. Okay, and to step out in the unknown. And then the financial security. And then when I decided, you know what, let me just step out to the next level, and now I'm running my own business, and I know that the control is in my hands, because if I do more, I can achieve more. Now that actually gives me the purpose and happiness, and I'm more driven than ever. Yes, I work more, but I feel more fulfilled than before. And that is actually what you can achieve when you step out of the comfort zone, because the comfort zone is very comfortable. It's very comfortable. You just ask yourself a question: how comfortable is the comfort zone? Okay, so I'm in front of it, so let me just stop sharing and let me just read it out. So instead of asking for help, some men bottle it up, which makes the struggle even heavier. And as we are closing up, so just asking for help. And for some people, that's going to therapy. For some people, it's just speaking up and saying, look, brother, like, I'm struggling with this. And maybe that's your work colleague, and maybe that's your close friend. Because if you find a group of support group, then it's a next level. So of course, and then you may ask, so what's next? So if we talk about next level, okay, so what's next? Okay, so okay, find a space for growth, discipline, and connections. Just find a space where you can actually grow and where you have the discipline, because without the discipline, we're just gonna float wherever the emotions were gonna take us. But guess what, they were not gonna take us where we need. They will just take us where they want, and whatever the circumstances happens at that time. So if you have found a space of growth and discipline, that's the same why people take these fitness coaches, because look, they know how to lose weight. It's move more and eat less. But then why don't they lose weight? Why don't they grow the muscles? Because they don't have the discipline. And they, guess what you need? You need actually someone who's gonna keep you accountable. So if you have the great connections and whatever it is, find that maybe a fitness group, or maybe that's work colleagues, or like-minded people. There's meetups and all these opportunities. Like I actually wanted for our men's group to meet once a month, and on this September, let me check. I think 18th. Let me just check in the calendar. 18th September, yeah, 18, yeah, on 18th of September we are doing a run for the men's group, so we're going to meeting up. So if you're looking for like a place for to meet up, growth focused, disciplined man, look, let's show up at the Blackfriars tube station, 8:45 on 18th of September. That's Thursday. Okay, and we're going to do quick run. We'll decide on the length depending on the fitness levels, whoever comes in. And you know what, man, that's a powerful place to be, because then later on we can go and grab some drinks, or just have a chat as well. So look, this is the men's group that I do. I do it because I needed the connections myself. Because if we go back here on the wheel, or on this wheel, my friendship is the lowest in all the rest of these areas. Because money wise, I'm doing quite well, and home wise, I'm doing quite well. Health wise, I'm probably that's the strongest. Like physically, and I don't have any sicknesses, which is like amazing. And some people struggle, but development, leisure, and romance, so on. But friendship wise, that is where I struggle. So, and I created this for myself because I want to surround myself with like-minded guys who are driven and motivated, instead of just guys who are just wasting themselves. Okay, and I've been wasting my time for far too long. I've been stuck in this hospitality for 14 years, and I just then, when I committed to make that breakthroughs and then surround myself with like-minded men, that's where the change happened. Okay. So here what you can count on if you decide to join the men's group. So you can learn strategies just like what we break down now, but just more deep down deep dive in specifically to you. Because look, here it's live, so it's everyone. It's I'm trying to cover the most important topics, but then we can address specifically your situation. Because there is a WhatsApp group where you can send the messages, and we can have a chat, and other guys can share their experiences. And there's three ways. The easy way, learn from other people's experiences. Okay. The hard way is learn from your own experiences. So you of course can do everything yourself, but the question is, do you need to do everything yourself? And the third one is the tragic way. You just don't learn and just keep doing the same thing. So the easy way, that's the easy way, and you can learn from other people's experiences. And that's why I created the mentor, because I was struggling. I didn't know how to deal with my own emotions. I didn't know how to deal with the broken heart. I didn't know how people deal with their own situations in families, because I haven't seen that in my own family as growing up without dad, and my mom was always busy. So that's just coming from my own personal pain point. And then there's two options. The one option is complaining. The second is to take the pain and use it into power, and then create something out of it. And that's why I'm doing it. Okay, so then the next one is two Zoom calls we do on Thursdays, every second Thursday. So next Thursday we're gonna have a Zoom call. So if you decide to join the men's group, so next Thursday we join on a Zoom call, and it's a group Zoom call. That means that if you don't feel comfortable opening up and sharing your situation, maybe then you can see what other guys are going through and learn from them. Because sometimes that's a very powerful way to learn, is actually seeing what everyone else is going through at the time, and live questions and answers and group discussions. So this is what you can count on if you decide to join the men's group. And then, like I said, this is not for everyone, so I'm not trying to talk anyone into anything. So, but this is not just another like WhatsApp group. Like, how many of you have WhatsApp groups and just they keep on spamming you? Yeah. But this is a brotherhood. So it's where you show up and engage and bring your best. And how much you're going to bring, and how much you're going to engage is how much you're going to bring out of it. And then as a bonus, even if you missed, you get the recording of the coaching session. But of course, if you are just like a gym membership, I had a friend and he says we have the same gym memberships, but we don't have the same results. Because yes, the membership is not what gives you the results, but what you do with the membership is what gives you the results. So even if you are in this men's group but you're not committed to engage, then you're not going to see the results. But the more you put in, the more you get out. Okay. So this is your next level group coaching calls and roadblocks. We look at the roadblocks and come up with strategies to overcome them. And then, like I said, look, this is not for everyone. So here we have this free group, and in this free group you can see there's 26 guys at the moment. If you don't know what you're about, where you're heading, and what you even want, and maybe you even cannot identify what area you want to improve from this wheel of life, look, man, just join in this. Just join. It's a broadcast channel, so I'm sharing some nuggets of wisdom, and I'm sharing some good content. So like, that's not a discussion, that's just a broadcast channel. It's for free. Join in. I'm gonna share also this recording. So each month I share these YouTube lives that I do, and then you're gonna gain value out of it for free. So look, that's then for you. But if you really know what you're about, and if you're ready for the next level, okay, so that's only for those who can't wait for more. Okay, see, so if you're really ready for the next level, and maybe you think, look, I'm tired of playing the level one. I'm tired of playing small, and what's next? So that's next. So we have this next stage, stage three, battle ready. And why I say battle ready? Because look, one thing is just to have knowledge, and that's procrastination. But battle ready is like where you actually implement it. So you take part, you join, and then that is actually where you see the breakthroughs. Okay, and if that's you, then you can join here, and then there is cost to it, and it is 15 pounds per month. So at the moment, it's 15 pounds per month. We started, well, I was just symbolic price. It was £5. Now it's 15 pounds per month, and we'll see next month it may even go higher than that. Because see, I also want to know whether you're committed or no. And of course, I could do that for free. And I'm doing this mentor 4 years or even 5 years now. And I did it for free for 4 years. But guess what happened? I found myself that people were not taking this seriously. And if you think that £15 a month is expensive, that's two coaching sessions. Each coaching session is 750, and you pay for my time, so I show up. And if you pay me, I better show up, because if I don't pay, you can then leave, stop, cancel. Okay, there is no contract. It's rolling basis, and that means that there is accountability. Because how can I charge someone something if I don't bring value? And the more accountability I have, the more value I have to bring. Okay, and if people are just going away from this group, and you can see at the moment we're six guys there, and if people are just running away from this group, then look, I need to look into myself and like asking myself, do I actually really bring value? And I know that this is a transformation. But look, there's an alternative. You go out there, go to the off license shop, buy a bottle of wine, is 15 pounds, and your life is not going to change. You're going to be relaxed, you're going to be on the level one, and you're going to be playing that same level again. And then the next day you're going to go and grab another bottle of wine, another 15 pounds. And I've been there. I've been drinking every evening just to get the edge off, because I wasn't satisfied with my life. I wasn't satisfied with my relationship status. I wasn't satisfied with what I do. There was no there was no satisfaction or fulfillment in life. But yet I had this 15 pounds for drinking the bottle of wine every day. And guess what? I gained bad weight. I didn't have motivation. It was hard to wake up in the mornings, and it wasn't really adding anything to my life. But this, when I decided to surround myself with like-minded guys, with guys who are actually ready to step up to the next level, everything changed. Look, I'm not trying to talk you into it, and I'm just saying, look, if that resonated with you, I need to give you the opportunity to go to the next level. If that didn't resonate with you, go just watch a replay. There going to be the link for the free group. Join there. You're welcome. I'm going to be doing next month. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe. I'm going to do next month's next live as well. So just look out for that, and then see you next month. Thank you guys. See ya.